Hi, I'm Alan Tetreault from Global Sugar Art, and today I would like to show you how to cover a cake drum as a final project for putting a cake on. I do a lot of judging all over the world, and one of the items that comes up all the time is someone will have prepared a beautiful cake and done just a beautiful job decorating it, but they'll put it on a foil board or a piece of cardboard that's not covered and that doesn't finish the cake, and they lose points on that all the time. I'm not here to judge people on their cakes, but I really would like to show you how to get a very professional look on finishing your cake boards. Here's a couple cakes that I did a while back. This is a Christmas cake, and I took a foil drum and I cut it into the hexagon shape to match the cake itself, and then I covered it with a green fondant, and I used an embossed writing to add on here, "Star with Royal Beauty Bright." And it just added enough of an accent on this cake to sort of polish it and just finish it off nicely. On this Valentine wedding, I used, again, a 1/2-inch drum. I covered it with a pink fondant to pick up the pink in the cake. And then because I wanted that heart theme, I embossed little hearts along it and then just finished those with a little bit of pearl dust and alcohol or lemon extract mixed together. So you can see just two different ways that you can finish off a cake really nicely by finishing the board. The ribbon on the bottom is also an important part of finishing a board. I often try to pick a ribbon that will make the colors from the top or other places in the cake pop, or that have a thematic approach to what I'm doing with the cake. So I'm going to put these behind me and I'll show you how we do this. Okay, we're going to start with some pink fondant today. And this is just regular fondant. There's nothing added to it except food coloring if you want to do that. We'll go with a little bit larger piece. Okay. And as always, when you're using fondant, you want to knead it for a minute first to sort of warm it up and get it pliable. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit of sugar or a cornstarch sugar mixture on my board and roll this out. Now, when you're doing a lot of cakes and you've covered a cake and you're cutting the fondant off the edge of the cake, and it might be something that you've used a few times and it's sort of getting dry, and your first thought is, oh, I'm just going to throw this away. I probably will never use this again. Those are the pieces of fondant you want to keep, because people aren't eating your cake board. So it doesn't really matter if the fondant is a little dry. And just color it as you want. Keep your colors separate until you're ready to use them. Okay. Here are two types of cake boards that we carry at globalsugarart.com. One of them is the traditional drum. It's 1/2-inch and it has foil on the sides and on the top. That's all glued to that. You can use that just as is, or you can cover it first with a piece of fondant. The newer ones are a foam board with a plastic top on them, and these are great because they have a very, very clean, straight side. They finish beautifully. So I have a large enough piece of fondant to cover either one of these. This time I would like to emboss the whole thing rather than like on the heart cake that I just showed you. I had just embossed little hearts. This time I'm actually going to roll. I'm going to roll the whole piece with a rolling pin. I have a nice little crosshatch design here. There are many different types of rolling pins. This is a leaf design. This is a tulip design. This is what they call a honeycomb design. There are literally dozens and dozens of designer rolling pins that you can use for this purpose. So I'm going to start at one end. Make sure you have a little bit of sugar or cornstarch on here first so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. And then just using a nice even pressure, just roll across that piece of fondant. You have to press fairly hard. There we go. Now, to prepare the board, we're going to use a little bit of piping gel. You also can use a little bit of shortening on the board. I prefer the piping gel because I think it adheres better and you never have to worry about it coming off afterwards. So what I do is I just smear a very, very thin layer of piping gel right on the board, and then I use a piece of paper towel and I just spread in a circle to make sure that it's completely covered. Now you can do the sides as well if you want. And I'm going to just lightly do the sides on this one. And that's it. Get the piping gel off my hands. Take your piece of fondant, roll it up on your rolling pin, and then just place it right over the board. Now, because you have a design on there, I would never use a fondant smoother and try to get that really smooth because you would lose your design. So really all I want to do is just bring this right around the edge. And then I'm going to take a small cutting blade and go right around the edge. When you're using the embossing rolling pins, you do have to roll the fondant a little bit thicker than you normally would so that you get a nice embossed finish on it. Now, if I want to put a ribbon on here, then I would use a smoother and I would go around the edge and I would smooth that edge around as much as I can. There. And that's done. And I've chosen a ribbon that I think will look good for the cake that I'm going to be making. And all I do is, this is 5/8 inch ribbon with a 1/2 inch drum and a 1/8 to 1/4 inch of fondant on it. The 5/8 inch ribbon fits perfectly. And all you do is measure the amount that you're going to need and then just cut that. Now you can glue this on again with just a little bit of piping gel. I have a little bit left on my spatula here. We'll put just a little bit more on there. It doesn't take very much at all. And please be careful not to put too much so that it doesn't squish up outside the ribbon, because piping gel will always leave a shiny spot on your fondant. No matter what you do to try and clean it, it will always leave a shiny spot. Okay. Now when you get to the back, if you want to hide that join in the back, you can just make a little bow with the same ribbon. And you can put a little gel on it, you can put a little hot glue, and just attach that right there. Well, I guess I would have to have some hot glue because that's not going to stay with a little gel right now. But that's a finished board. And from here, I would make my cake, and I would cover the cake on a small cardboard the same size as the cake. So then I would put the whole cake right on here after it's completed, and I would finish it off by putting my bottom border on, and I'm done. I'm ready to go. So that's a quick tutorial on how to make a very professional finish on a cake using one of the cake drums, the different varieties that are available. Thanks for watching, and you can find all our cake drums at globalsugarart.com.